Oh, right. Hello, everybody. First order of business, some housekeeping. Apologies that I have not done these the last couple of games, so apologies for that. I've been doing stuff with my house, and it's taken a lot of time and a lot of energy. And I'm going to take these off because I can see my own reflection. Yeah, it's taken a lot of time, a lot of energy. It's stuff I've got going on with the house right now, so that's why I've not done any for the last couple of games. So my bad on that. Sorry about that. But yes, anyway, we're back. And we're back with a bang because Derby went to QPR. They beat QPR 1-0. And for the first time this season, they get back-to-back wins. And it pulls them 5 points away from the bottom three. And it gets them level on points with Nottingham Forest, who got walloped in the cup by Swansea. So that's nice. So yeah, I think if Derby can get another win, they could go as high as 17. So it's important that they keep stacking these wins up, or even positive results. I'll get to you comments and questions in a moment. First half, I thought Derby were the better team for the first 15 minutes or so. Didn't really create that much, apart from the one Colin Kazim-Richards chance, which he really should bury, but he made up for that, so that's all good. And early on, there was a lot of space down the sides for Burnham Buchanan. Obviously, a byproduct of playing those wing backs, and Rooney says he wants them to start very high up the pitch. He essentially wants them to just be wingers, and then go man to man and have one guy each in a defensive shape. So that initially worked, and QPR Mark Warburton deserves a lot of credit because he actually tweaked it just a little bit, and QPR started pressing higher up the pitch. Do you ever reply on Twitter? I do, Dave. I'm really sorry if I miss you out, mate. I don't mean to. Yes, and QPR started pressing higher up the pitch and forcing Derby's hand a little bit, and they started to retreat. And then Burnham Buchanan they got pinned back a little bit, and that's when guys like Willock and Chair started to pull the strings a bit. Austin had a big chance, big save from Keller Roos there. I want to throw some love Keller Roos's way. Someone pointed out that he did whiff a little bit at the Rotherham goal, but I think generally since he stepped in for Marshall, I can't really critique Keller too much. I think he's been excellent. There was a moment in this game where he punches a ball from, I think it's a corner, and he really should have caught it. He does all the right things. He comes, he's commanding, and he gets a good leap in the air, but he chooses to punch when he could have caught the ball, and Derby have to scramble a little bit to get their lines clear. But the save from Austin is great. The save from the overhead kick is brilliant. Really good reaction save from him. He had one versus Bournemouth as well, where he produces a really good save. He gets a lot of stick, and I know why he gets some stick. And I've written said my piece about him and written pieces about him. He's not consistent enough, and that is why he's a number 2 in the club brought Marshall in. But he's been massive for them since he came in and stepped in. He's been really good. He looks like he's hit the weights as well. He looks like a big dude right now. Obviously, he's always been really tall, but he started last season, he looked kind of lean, and this year he looks like he's getting ready to take on Brock Lesnar or something. Second half, Derby got more joy in the middle, and I wrote a piece about this on The Athletic last week, where Derby, when they play expansive teams, and QPR are one of the more expansive teams in the lower half, but when they play much more expansive teams, Derby are better because Bielik can find space, Shinnie can find space in the middle, the lines, the gap between the lines is bigger, and Derby can play their way through there, and it opens stuff up out wide. When those lines are tighter, which QPR made them, Bielik really struggles to get his foot on the ball because they just swallow that space up. And that's what was happening. Once QPR, after 20 minutes, made that change and started pressing higher up the pitch, what they did is they essentially forced Derby into the middle. And they didn't like that at all. It was far too congested. There wasn't enough space for Bielik or Shinnie to get on the ball. Now, credit to Rooney, at half-time, he recognised this. He goes to a back 4. He plonked Max Bird in there, and that midfield looked much more balanced. And Bird actually had a pretty good outing out there. I actually thought he did okay. He sort of tried to press a little bit from the front on occasions, and generally just made sure that Derby had an extra man in there to contend to make sure that Shinnie and Bielik weren't outnumbered. And I thought that was really good. My only critique second half was you really need to get Chair. They really needed to get Chair under lock and key. He was having far too much time and space to pull those strings, and when you're drifting, if you're passing him off as in a zone scheme, really. If you're going to pass him off, you just have to make sure that you're aware of where he is. He's a really, really dangerous player, and he had a few crosses and a few balls down the side today that could have caused problems. But that is where Andre Wisdom, George Evans in the first half when he was on, and Matt Clark deserve a lot of praise. Wisdom has been brilliant. Wayne Rooney talked about him in the press conference, singled him out for his leadership, step up in leadership. And there was a moment in the second half, just after Derby got the goal, where I think he's trying to find Jozwiak down the right, and he doesn't really bust a gut to get down there. And he goes, Camille, when Jason runs, you run. Do you understand? And then from that point on, Camille kept trying to go beyond and get in there. That's really good. Holding your teammates to account is what will get Derby out of this mess, as well as grinding results out and playing some good football. But without that leadership, you can't go anywhere. Derby, typically, when I've been in stadium, they've been one of the quieter teams. A lot of the noise comes from the opposition. But on the more recent occasions, they've been loud. And Andre's been a big, big part of that. Wisdom has really stepped up in leadership. He's leading the line. Nathan Byrne was good today in terms of his talking when you could hear the cameras, mics pick him up. He was really good, setting the line, wanting Jason or Camille to come in and help him defend. So that was great. They now have to build on this. Really, really good pair of wins. They have to build on this. They can do it. And look, they did it against Bournemouth in, I wouldn't say an ugly way, but in a bit more of a attritional way, while playing some good football as well. And they really did have to grind it out this afternoon. So they can go both ways. And a little tweak in what they did was they actually just went back to going more direct again. Against Bournemouth, where all those spaces were, get the ball on the deck, play, let's go through Beale. They can use him as our nerve centre for creating. When those spaces are shrunk, longer balls over the top, longer balls into the channels, try and get Colin Kazim-Richards to hold the ball up and play and pass and do things from there. Let's get to your questions. Still after that job of your... Is it difficult to drop Roos now? James, good question. No, I think once Marshall is fit and over his illness, I think he comes back in. But I mean, Keller's out of contract, I believe, at the end of it's either this season or next season that Keller is out of contract. You know, you need solid number twos. You know, you need solid backups like that. And there would be, I think, worse options if he can keep coming in and providing these. There'd be worse options than sticking him around. But I still think once Marshall is fit, you still put Marshall back in the team. For me, over the course of the season, Marshall's body of work, I think, has meant he's been Derby's best player. Now, he had the mistake against Barnsley, which cost them the first goal, but I shudder to think generally where Derby would have been without some of the important saves of David Marshall. So for me, he comes straight back into the side. But he's going to have to work hard to keep the jersey. That's what you always want, right? Healthy competition for places. You're going to have to work hard to keep that, because Keller's shown he can come in and he can produce a string of good performances and back-to-back clean sheets for him as well. So that's really nice. Wallop. Let's see. Jozwiak, sharpness lacking a bit today, thoughts? Yeah, Sam, a little bit. There were a couple of moments where I thought he could have got a cross or a shot off and he just wants the extra touch. I don't think that's anything new for him. I watched a handful of his games at Poznan and I thought he's going to be a really good, really tricky winger. But at the time, his end product was spotty at best. And that's proved the case so far here. His end product has been spotted. If he can sort that out, and it is always an if with players, if he can sort that out, he's going to be a dangerous winger in this division. But yeah, today I thought he was okay, but there were times where the sharpness was just a little bit not there. But he always puts a shift in. He's always willing defensively, and he always gets a couple of moments a game where you think he can take your man on. He's going to beat the defender down the outside. He always has a couple of moments like that a game. But yeah, I think while he beds into this team and this country and this new environment and all those things, and I imagine settling, for anyone in a new area is harder in a pandemic, but particularly if it's not your homeland as well. While he gets through all those things, away from that, and while he adapts to the team, generally there are going to be some ups and downs, but largely, yeah, I think he's been okay. Bielik gets all the plaudits. Don't you agree, Ryan, that Shinnie is well up there? Yes, Tom. This is brilliant. We're going to talk about Graham Shinnie a lot right now. Yeah, you are right. Bielik rightly does get all the plaudits. He is sort of the nerve centre of everything Derby do creatively down the middle. And because he's really adept defensively as well, he gets a lot of love. He's got very intelligent movement and has got a lovely range of passing. He is only allowed to do a lot of those things because Graham Shinnie just wraps him up in this beautiful little foil. Graham Shinnie is absolutely outstanding and has been ever since Rooney got the job in an interim and now permanent role. What he does, he's just a pest. Bielik is not the most mobile player, and Shinnie just picks up all that slack around him. He's a constant pest. And at the start of his Derby tenure, Shinnie, he was much more of just a destroyer. He just sit there and screen the midfield and just break up play, and that's your job. Under Rooney, he's developed into a much more box-to-box player, and Rooney's spoken about his technical qualities, the improvement in his technical qualities going up. He delivers a pretty mean dead ball as well. Consistency is an issue, but when it's there, pretty good. He had one free kick to Clark in the game today, where Clark rises and gets to it. Maybe should time his jump a bit better and make something of that. But yeah, overall, this is what I like. I think they're a great duo. They are a really, really good duo. They're so well balanced. They know their strengths. They know their weaknesses. And that's what a team is about. Accentuate your strengths and mask your weaknesses. Those two do it brilliantly, absolutely brilliantly. And Graham Shinnie is a massive, massive part of that. And as Rooney said in his pre-game press conference in the build-up to this, he's making a call to get back in that Scotland side because he has been absolutely brilliant. Yes, Michael. Credit to Kellarusi. He has been excellent since stepping in. Was it just me who thought Waggy looked a little bit knackered? No, I don't think he looked tired particularly, Callum. I think it's difficult, isn't it, to get into the game when you're just sitting back to defend the lead. The thing I think that Waghorn does very, very well as a forward is press from the front, and Derby weren't really doing that. They were you saw how deep Waghorn was sitting back when the QPR back three had the ball. He wasn't being asked to press. I think he was just being asked to kind of just make sure it's not that easy for them without going right up to the defender to close them down, because then the space around him opens up, and with those extra bodies QPR have, they can move into those, as Rob Dickey did pretty easily. That's when Waghorn's got to go back the other way with him. But yeah, I think when you're sitting deep, I mainly think he was brought on just for extra energy, really. He's got more pace than Kazim-Richards, and I think if you're going to kick the ball long late on in the game, he's the ideal guy that you try and want to chase it. He had one with where Keller found him from route one. And I actually thought he should have taken the shot on his left foot. He sat up really nicely for him. You think he'd go on, just lash that. If it goes wide, then it goes wide, but it might go in, or you might get the goalkeeper might palm it out into a dangerous area, but he tried to take an extra touch. I think right now that's the sign of a striker that isn't really that confident. But yeah, I thought he did okay. What else do we owe? Where's the new hats in the wardrobe, man? What else we got? Man, you guys are lively in here today. Let's see. Maybe these 2 wins on the bounce might help the Shakes follow through with this takeover. The longer it drags on, Dan, the longer it becomes a real worry that Derby aren't going to be able to strengthen how they would like to strengthen in the window. Now, the embargo is because of the wages. I think that, I ran a story today that, Derby players were paid a flat rate, which covered all the wages of some of the players and some of the wages of the other players. And obviously they are slowly moving towards paying all of the playing staff. Now, once that's done, you can go into the market. It'll be a mad dash, but if you can quickly identify some good targets, and Rooney has said that this embargo hasn't really impacted the targets that he wants. How much of that you want to believe is up to you. My understanding is they want Tyler Roberts from Leeds on loan. My understanding was also they wanted Alex Pritchard, who has 6 months left on his contract, and I believe they want a centre-back as well. If you can go out and get a couple of players to boost the numbers and give a little strength in depth. My only worry with Derby a lot of the time is you look at the bench and you think, there isn't really a lot there. Like we saw with Sheffield Wednesday, if you go 1-0 down, you look at your bench and think, who can change it up for them? And you're relying on Jamal Hector-Ingram, Morgan Whittaker, Mitchell Lawson, guys like that are largely untested at this level. So if you can just add a little bit of strength in depth, there's nothing wrong with that. But of course, identifying the right players is big. And Derby have been hit and miss in the time I've covered them. You look at Marshall and Byrne, really, really good. Mike Taveric, not so good. So, and I think that's they have to be really smart with how they recruit. Cannot see Lawrence fitting into this team. Yeah, Callum, he's going to struggle to get back in this side. I think so. He was dropped for a little bit, and then he came in, and that's when he picked up the ankle injury. And he'd had a good half an hour prior to picking up that injury, if I remember rightly. But no, But this is what you want. You want a good and healthy competition for places. You want them to fight for that jersey. I think the one thing that Lawrence's return will allow for them is a little bit more strength and depth on the bench. Whether he starts or he's on the bench, because if he starts, then you're going to put Camille on the bench, or Jason's not going back to the bench, but there'll be a quality player that goes on the bench. So I think that is his return will be welcome, but he'll have to fight, in my opinion, to get into the first 11. And that's how it should be. That's how you should never just walk back into the team once you return from injury. Because if you do, then it's a big problem. Unless you are a real, elite kind of player at any level, you should never just walk back into the team. So that's good. What a skill! Yeah, Bradley, Nathan Byrne. If Derby were higher up the table, I think Nathan Byrne would get a lot of love, but because he's a defender and because Derby have conceded not a lot of goals since Rooney's taken over, but in the sort of 11 games Koku was in charge, they were soft, but he cost them basically nothing. And in an attacking sense, I always said in an attacking sense he wasn't as good as Bogle, but I actually like to revise that a little bit, because while the same things that frustrate me in terms of crossing with Byrne frustrate me with Bogle, I actually think he does get up and down the line pretty well and into those attacking spaces pretty well as well. Defensively is where he's so much more of an upgrade over Jayden. Now, Jayden's a converted winger. His natural instinct is to always go forward first, and he's still learning that defensive side of the game. And he's a talented player. He definitely has the capacity to learn that. But Byrne is an experienced right back in the Championship and in the EFL. He's been absolutely brilliant for them. He's had a couple of down games, but look, all of Derby have had a couple. All of the Derby players have had dips and peaks and troughs like that. That's kind of like where they are. What else we got here? Has the extra money come in because of the sale of Holmes, or is that not? No, the Dwayne Holmes transfer to Huddersfield has not been completed yet, so nothing has been exchanged in that regard. But as Rooney said before, he's likely to be leaving the club pretty soon. And as my understanding is, that move to Huddersfield is still on, but there's been nothing. No monies have been sent to Derby for the transfer of Holmes. You think Waggy is likely to leave this window with his contract up in the summer? J Trust 24. No, I don't think he will. I think he will leave in the summer though. I think Waghorn has been on record, and this was last season, and he's not a complainer or a moaner in that regard. I quite like Waghorn, as you all know. I think he's very underrated. Not playing well right now, but overall, I think he's underrated. But I think at 31, this is his last chance to get a big contract, I think. And also it's a chance for him to play as a number 9 week in, week out for somebody. Is that going to be at Derby? The signs right now suggest probably not. If they can tie him down at a reasonable contract, as all these free agents have been, like Chris Martin and Tom Huddlestone, if you can tie them down at a reasonable contract, keep him. He's an experienced player at this level. And look, while he's not going to, be the guy that fires Derby to Premier League football with 25 goals. You need the goals that he does provide, and the energy and the work rate that he provides up there. And his set piece taking is pretty good as well. But I just have a feeling he will leave, and I think part of that is Derby trimming their wage budget a lot. They paid $5 million for him. I very much doubt he's on small money in terms of wages. So yeah, I expect him to leave. Did we get any fee for Tawiric? My understanding is none up front, but that is, as you can tell by the way I'm saying that, I'm not really confident in in reporting that like publicly, but I don't think Groningen gave Derby any upfront fee for Tawirik. What do you know about the takeover? If it doesn't happen, how are we going to pay the players? Tom, the takeover update is as it was last time, which is there is no update. My feeling is, if and once this goes through, Derby will shout about it from the rooftops. It's dragged on for so long now that once the exchanging of hands has happened, there will be statements and interviews roll out and all that sort of stuff. The big PR push for the new owners. That's what I imagine would happen. They will really want to pump this up and put this issue to rest. If this drags on, how will the players get paid? I imagine at some point Mel would step in. And if that doesn't happen at some point, he would have to step in because the PFA, the EFL, they could get involved. Obviously, the PFA have been in dialogue, we understand, with Derby over that. That was a couple of weeks ago. I'm not sure of sort of more recent times. So yeah, that at some point, the players will get paid. There is a limit, though, because at some point, and I'm not sure the timeline of this, but at some point, the EFL can charge Derby for this and fine them, adopt them points and stuff like that. So it is in their best interests to pay the players. Let's see. There was something about, do we get a guitar solo because we've won in a nipple reveal? You absolutely do not. No, you don't. I keep promising that I will give you a solo on that though. But today is not that day. But yes, it is coming. All the more reason for you all to keep tuning back in. But yes, one day, maybe when we're all nice and liquored up and we're allowed to play out again. Yes, that would be wonderful. How many players do you reckon we can bring in? 2. I think 2 is probably, yeah, 2 probably feels right. Attacking player and get some depth at centre back. It would be mine. If we stay up, can we have a guitar solo? Absolutely, yes, absolutely. If we stay up, you can definitely have a guitar solo. Right, that is your lot, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Again, for those of you that were late to this, sorry that I'd not done this off the back of the last couple of games. I've been sorting some bits out with my house, and that has been exhausting. Pinky promise. That has been absolutely exhausting, sorting those bits out. So yeah, I've just not had the energy to do these. So that's on me, my bad. But yes, I am going to jump now. Thank you all very, very much for tuning in. You all have a lovely, lovely evening. And remember to stay safe out there, show love to your loved ones, be kind to someone because this time sucks. And be happy. Derby won. That's all that matters. So take care, everybody. I'll see you all very soon. Bye.